Hello, welcome to today's episode. Juice and the Numbers, your statistics and sports podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Joshua Tracy.
And I'm Corwin Hall.
And Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. We didn't record anything after Christmas because it was December 26th on our standard recording day, and I think Corwin and I silently agreed that it was just not worth the time. And so here we are. It's December 29th as we're recording this right now, and we're gearing up for New Year's. Not much is going on in the world of sports. That's okay, because not really much, I guess, really should be going on. Things are bad, but anyway, let's. There's not too much going on, but one of probably the biggest thing that's happened all week is the passing of John Madden. Now, chances are, if you're listening to this podcast, you know who John Madden is or was, whatever. If you are not familiar with him beyond the namesake of one of the most popular sports video games of all time, he was a head coach. He was a color commentator. He was also an educator, and he was a football player. And he really managed to accomplish quite a lot in the course of his career, in addition to being a Super Bowl winning head coach, of which there are exceedingly few in the NFL. If you think about it, there's only been how many Super Bowls now? 56, 57? Right?
Yeah.
Like not a lot. And when so that means let's call it 50 fucking six, just because who cares? That's 56 dudes.
56
and then if you take it
is this year. Or
56 is this upcoming. All right, so then there's 55, which means at max there'd be 55 dudes. That's not a lot of guys, and there's a lot of repeats in there. So really, it's an exclusive club to which John Madden belongs. Additionally, he did spend a little bit of time actually teaching football coaching, I believe at UCLA. I'm trying to find that somewhere because I know he did that somewhere. And he was also a very, very renowned, probably the best NFL color commentator of all time. And one of the reasons that made him so good is, one, his gigantic breadth of knowledge, two, his exceedingly amiable personality, and three, he was very not just interested, but concerned in making sure people understood the game of football. He really wanted people to know how football worked in it, maybe not a technical and precise X's and O's ways necessarily, but at least in an intuitive and digestible way. And that's not to say that other color commentators don't do that. A lot of them do. Tony Romo is great at what he does. But you really got the sense for John Madden that he wasn't just letting you know what's happening, which it oftentimes feels like a lot of color commentators do. They're just saying, here's what's happening. This is the X's and O's of it. Very dry. John Madden genuinely wanted you to walk away understanding the why. Even if the X's and O's don't line up in your brain, he wanted you to get it, which is why he made the game Madden. He actually had the opportunity, if I recall correctly, to make the game significantly earlier than when the first issue got released. But due to technical capabilities, they were only able to generate 7 guys per side instead of the standard 11. And Madden said no, he didn't want to do that because he wanted to be able to give people an arsenal of knowledge that would help them to actually understand the game better and use real plays from a real NFL playbook to get them to get people to kind of get a better understanding of how the game functioned. And that's really an incredibly rare thing to do, or to get to experience. You really don't get that in other circles. Corwin, what's your experience with John Madden?
I learned about him from Madden 2008 for the Nintendo DS. I'm sure I didn't first learn about him just through buying one random game, but that's how I remember him, just because of his voice and likeness narrating the game, essentially. But the big thing that kind of stands out at me, which, I just had to look up and confirm, has the second highest win percentage of a head coach in NFL history, which is beyond outrageous. I mean, the
Never
only
had a
guy
losing
ahead
season.
of him. I'm sorry?
Never had a losing season.
Never had a losing season. Mike Tomlin is dangerously close to that feat, losing that feat. But back to the point, has the highest win percentage since 1927. Like, that's just unreal. Having a 759 win percentage behind Guy Chamberlain's 784 from 1922 to 1927. He has 103 wins to 32 losses, 7 ties. Like, it's one of those things where he has 80 points on Bill Belichick, who is widely considered the greatest coach of all time, who's down 13th place. It's just beyond unreal how great of a coach he was. Yeah. Also, just complete non sequitur. I know who George Halas was. Like, he is, literally on the uniform of the Chicago Bears. Didn't realize he was the head coach of the Bears for 40 years.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I feel like that's a thing we learned on this show, like early, and then both forgot. So like I feel like I'm learning it for the first time again, but I'm also not surprised, because when you think about those old guys, like when football was still the Wild West of sports, and it was just like a bunch of dudes in mud. I don't think it would have taken much to own a team and also coach it. Don't think it would have taken much.
Yep. I mean, George Halas first became the head coach of Chicago in 1920, won a championship in 1921 when he was only 26 years old, and retired in 1967. 1967. 47 years later is when that man retired.
That's a fucking run. So do you recall any of John Madden's commentating career?
Only from highlights. I was never old enough for him to really be a commentator when I was actively watching games.
I have a distinct recollection of John Madden as a color commentator, in part because every single time my father and I would watch a game that he called, my dad would remind me, which you'd never forget, that he doesn't like to fly and he would take buses everywhere. And so I have distinct recollection, not necessarily of any specific games or any specific moments within games that he called, but I have a very distinct recollection of him and Pat Summerall, like on my TV, and John Madden talking in a way where you go, well, he doesn't sound very smart. But then he proceeds to explain to you, like, as though football was particle physics and he won a Nobel Prize. Like, it was such an interesting thing to kind of like experience, because he had such a simplistic way of talking, but his approach was so genuine and fucking detailed. That was incredible.
Like, it's the mark of someone who truly expertly understands their craft, is when you can seamlessly transform the way you describe it and the way you think of it from something super intricate and detailed to super basic and rudimentary, so that anyone that you're talking to can have a crystal clear, just perfect understanding of what you're trying to describe at just core levels, while also being able to fully understand every detail of the craft. Like, that's just the mark of a genius, and that's Madden.
Yeah, shout outs to all our teachers out there. Teaching is very fucking hard. Communicating ideas in a way that people can receive, understand, translate in their own brains, and output it correctly is incredibly difficult. So shout out to our teachers. Yeah, and it's really interesting because I'm not sure, and my experience with Madden the football game really ends around probably like 2007 or 8, because we got rid of our PlayStation 2. around then, I think, and just never got another gaming system after that. And so I really like thrived on Madden, I think like 05, 06. No, oh my God. Madden 2002. That was the version we had. Because I still remember the theme song. It's no matter what happens, the choice is on you. Madden 2002. Some shit like that. I still fucking remember that fucking song. Maybe not
Who
all
was
the
the
words,
cover?
but I don't remember. I do not remember. Who would you think it is in 2002? I'm gonna look it up.
2002.
Would it be too early for Vic?
Yeah. I was like,
02. Ladanian?
I want to say 07 was like Vic. No, that's too late. Probably like 03, 04.
02. All right, let's see.
It's a really good guess. I think I'd put my money on him.
Dwante Culpepper. Man, never would have guessed.
I remember like 2000, like not in 2010 was like Peyton Hillis. And that was far and away the worst.
Wow. Dwante Culpepper never would have gotten
Madden
that.
2001, Eddie George. 2008, I think, was the one that I had. But, nope, I had Madden 08 with Vince Young on the cover. That's my boy.
And what's still amazing about the game Madden, even from my like sparse childhood recollections, is that because it shows you, the movements ahead of time and gives you the ability, I should say, to run through your reads. It really, even at a young age, gives you a pretty good understanding of how the game functions. Even if you're like me and you didn't play it like all that much or all the super most recent versions of it, there's still that core concept that you might not retain when you're a kid watching the game, because so much is happening real time and not all the lines are drawn out for you the way that they are on your video game screen, that it can really hammer home to you that everyone is doing a organized set of actions instead of just running around in a mad scramble like a 5-year-old soccer match. And, again, giving these plays names and giving these like kids and young adults an avenue to understand the game better, not only helps people enjoy watching sports more and enjoy watching that sport more, but also shows kids that there's a lot to sports that isn't just the athletic of it. There is also understanding scheme and strategy, and that's an avenue into sports, which is something Corwin and I talk about every now and then, about how it would be great if sports did more to show that there's jobs in sports outside of just playing, which is one of the reasons we'd like to see more players transition to front office and GM jobs and league office jobs, because that would show kids that, hey, you can do this too. Here's a very big familiar face. You can do this too. But it's something that really other sports don't have to nearly the same extent,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, can you think of an announcer outside of maybe like Vin Scully with baseball that had such an impact on the league? I'm sure there's one for every sport. And I mean, at the end of the day, even if there is, the fact that John Madden is the guy for the NFL is that's all you need to know.
Oh, that's the thing. It's like you can't even just put him in the box of commentator, because it's like Vince Scully, great commentator, never coached, never managed.
Mm-hmm. Never played.
Madden managed. And you could do this with anybody. Even Tony Romo, great player, great commentator. Where's his fucking video game? And not just
nobody else has the video.
Like
the only guy that can come close. Game. The only guy that can even come close on saying, "Hey, I got a video game," is Tony Hawk. And Tony Hawk's not coming after John Madden.
No way. It really, and that's what I'm trying. That's what I'm trying to say is like the full sum of contributions is so unlike anyone else. Because even when you think of dudes who it's like those old timey weird dudes who it's like, I founded a baseball team and played 60 seasons. Like that guy, his contribution meant nothing in the 1920s because that's not a real year. Like Madden gave a tool at a very pivotal time in technology as well as the changing demographics of entertainment, and made a really pivotal change in the way that kids are going to enjoy the game. Adults are going to understand the game from listening to him commentate, and he won a fucking Super Bowl. Like this is a wacky, insane group of accolades.
I need to download Madden. I need to add it back to the system.
Yeah, I just got a new gaming system recently, so I should really get a copy.
I've got a couple copies of Madden. I got you.
Thanks, baby. Yeah, so John Madden's career, just a real quick shout out. Not only did he never have a losing season, he only had 3 not first place seasons, which is hilarious. He only didn't win his division 3 times in 10 seasons. God damn.
Bill Belichick-esque.
So in that tenure, he coached from age 33. Fuck, that's young. To 42, 10 seasons, as Corwin said, 103 wins, 32 losses, and 7 ties. His team ranked, first in offensive yards twice, never out of the top 10. They finished first in points 3 times, never out of the top 10. In defense, they finished first in yards allowed, second in yards allowed, which would be in terms of fewest yards allowed. They finished second twice and had a couple rougher years, one 18th place finish and one 19th place finish. But in terms of points, they had 5 top 10 finishes. 6 top 10 finishes. Fuck. Only finished outside of the top 10 4 times. I mean, like you can go up and down the list. That it's just it's such a ridiculous combination of achievements. They won the 1976 Super Bowl. Who did they win it against? Who's your guess? Who do they win the Super Bowl against?
In 76, the Raiders?
Yeah, it's the Raiders.
The Steelers.
In order to get there, they had to beat the LA Rams back when they were the LA Rams. Oh, no, the Vikings had to beat the Rams. I see. The Raiders beat the Steelers, and then the Raiders beat the Vikings. 32-14. God damn.
Nailed it. So happy to have nailed that one. Fuck.
Yeah, goddamn.
I'm the worst.
Yeah, John Madden's entire career history, he had an off-season season with the Philadelphia Eagles in 1958, and then became a coach. He was an assistant coach at Allen Hancock College from 60 to 61. Then he was the head coach for a year in 62 to 63. He was the defensive coordinator at San Diego State from 64 to 66, and then he became a linebackers coach with the Raiders from 67 to 68, and then went straight from linebackers coach to head coach. And as we just said, his head coaching career. Despite all the winning seasons, they were only the AFL. This is when it was the AFL and NFL before they merged and then became the NFL and then had the AFC and NFC. He only won the AFL championship 1 time. So his sole Super Bowl win was the only appearance, though getting the Super Bowl is very fucking hard. And also won the AFL Coach of the Year award in 1969. Yeah.
They're all pretty huge things to win as a head coach.
Yeah. And it's, I think we've probably pretty much run the gamut on him, but I mean, it's dying at 85 feels like the age at which people die. So it's tough to be like, it's totally fucking gut wrenching. Like 85 is a great age to kick the bucket, if we're being honest here. Like 85 is, I'm losing mobility. Just fucking kill me. Like your family's not going, he was so young. So I don't want to make it some like overly somber thing. I'm not going to cry my eyes out over this loss because John Madden led a great fucking life. contributed so much to the football community and really the understanding of sports education. And he's been out of the game for a few years, but it's just wild to see a guy from my childhood kind of like leave the earth. But I also hadn't thought about him in a few years. So this was a nice trip down memory lane for a horrible reason. But I'm glad to get to kind of remember John Madden's life.
Agreed. Completely agreed.
So on the football note, do you want to just kind of go through where we're at in terms of playoff picture? We did this last week, and obviously, as we said, there was a lot of things that were slotted to change based on last week's results, and a lot of things did change. So you want to get into that?
Sure, let's do it.
All right. We'll start with the AFC. That's where we started last week as well. Once again, the only team who has clinched the playoff spot is the Chiefs. There are 6 more playoff spots that are just unaccounted for right now. There is 2 weeks left to go. This is going to get wild. So the number 2 seed, actually, we did this from the bottom up, I think. Now we'll do a top 10 this time. Why not? We'll mix it up. So the number 2 seed right now and leading the AFC South is the Tennessee Titans, who won their game last week against the San Francisco 49ers, which I'm not sure either corner or myself were especially confident in, and yet they did it. And with that win, they managed to improve their record to 10-5, which is just wacky, and put a little distance between them and well, actually, they really put much distance between them and the Colts, but they managed to maintain their division lead, which is wild. So at 10-5, they placed the Dolphins this week. And while that doesn't sound overly intimidating, the Dolphins just won their 7th straight fucking game to go 7-7. And boy, howdy, Corwin, I don't know what the fuck to make of these fucking Dolphins. So what do you think about the Titans in this spot? And what do you think about their matchup coming up against the Dolphins?
I don't have the confidence if I'm the Titans to be confident. Good job, Corwin. That's an excellent sentence. You did great. I don't want to favor the Dolphins, but I do think they come in here with a lot of momentum where the Titans have been up and down. I mean, they lost the Steelers. That is enough said.
Sorry, I should correct myself. Dolphins are 8-7, not 7-7. My bad.
Yes. I don't know where that loss came in, but regardless, maybe week 1 or that extra win came week 1.
Yeah, it was a week 1 win, 7 straight losses, 7 straight wins.
Got it.
I don't know what either team is. I don't know
how to break this down, man.
I think that's where I'm at, really. I don't know where either team is. Like, someone's going to have to end up winning this game. And we're at a point where if I can't believe the Titans have won 10 games. And I cannot believe the Dolphins have won 7 straight games. So someone's going to win this game, and I think I will feel the exact same about it no matter who does it, which is neither of you deserve this. I think that's where I'm at.
I really don't think there's a single team outside of the Chiefs. And even then, they've had some bad
really
games
rough stretches
that deserve this. I don't think any of these teams deserve a playoff berth. They have all playoff berths. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think anyone deserves it.
I'm not even talking about deserving the playoff berth. I'm talking about deserving the level of success they've sustained. Like the Titans, and if you're a Titans fan, eat my dick. The fact that the Titans would have 11 wins feels so broken to me. And the fact that the Dolphins would be 9-7 also feels like a mockery of the sport. And look,
what's more surprising? The Titans having 10 wins, the Dolphins having 8 wins, or the Steelers having 7 wins?
Honestly, the most surprising for me is the Dolphins having 8 wins. Because the AFC South is bad. Granted, I was expecting it to be worse than this. So if you had told me that, I would have assumed a different 10 wins. But I could have wrapped my head around 10 wins. And we've known that the Steelers have been struggling, and Ben Roethlisberger has not been improving because he's getting old. Football old, not real person old. And so the Dolphins, I had no hope in them. And they're clearly proving me to be a fucking idiot, but I mean, God, I can't wrap my brain around it.
Neither can I. I'm ready for the just absolute slugfest of these games, in the sense of it's just going to be a bloodbath, and the only losers are going to be us.
Right.
Team that loses.
The fans. So we'll get to the effects of that Dolphins win or loss in a second. Next, the third seed, the division leader for the AFC North, is currently the Cincinnati Bengals at 9-6. Last week, they were not the division leader. The Baltimore Ravens were. And then the Bengals walked into Baltimore and stomped on the Ravens' dick. Actually, the Bengals hosted. So the Ravens came to Cincinnati just to get their dick stomped upon. 41-21. Oof, as I would say. And rockets the Bengals up to first place while leaving Baltimore in second place at 8-7, one game above the Steelers. The Bengals this week will be facing the Chiefs, who are currently the only team to have clinched a playoff spot at 11-4. The Chiefs don't really have any reason they'd have to try very hard in this game outside of maintaining the number one seed. Of assuming a world in which Tennessee wins, they would be and the Chiefs lose, they would be tied for the first seed. I don't know tiebreakers. But from a divisional standpoint, they have a 3-game cushion ahead of the Chargers and Raiders. And Cincinnati's fighting to hold ground, but neither team really. It's not an overly compelling matchup in terms of playoff standings, but there's a decent enough chance these teams face each other in the playoffs, so it could be something for that. What do you think about the Bengals' position and their upcoming matchup?
As a Steelers fan, living in a household with a Bengals fan, and having the Bengals beat the living shit out of the Ravens the same week, the Steelers were basically put down like a sick dog by the Chiefs. This was a difficult weekend for me. I hate to say it, but the Bengals look like just an excellent team that I would not want to play in the playoffs. Like
They
Joe
look like
Burrow
they're
is
really
just
figuring it out.
Yeah, like the defense is finally doing enough to leave the game in the hands of Joe Burrow, who is just going to kind of take it and run with it. And figuratively, literally, he's going to throw for it. And I mean, he looks like one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL right now. And I love it. I hate it. I don't want him to be on that team, but he is. I honestly think out of all the AFC North QBs, obviously Ben is 95 years old. He's at the bottom of that totem pole. Baker Mayfield is the guy. He does not look like a competitive player anymore. Lamar Jackson's an MVP, and I'd still have him below Joe Burrow right now. He
Joe
looks
Burrow,
like an unreal talent.
70% completion percent, 4,165 yards with 2 games to go. 30 touchdowns, 14 interceptions, but who gives a fuck, really? Yards per game, 277, a quarterback rating of 105.0 in a full fucking season. I mean, it's just stupid.
We got it, Josh. Joe Burrow is the best quarterback to ever play the game of football ever.
He makes Ben Roethlisberger look like a fucking jackass. That's what he's doing, fucking punk bitch.
My girlfriend's favorite sweatshirt is a Joe Burrow sweatshirt, and it hurts me every time I see it.
Just go Joe Burrow it up your ass, bitch. Yeah. So Bengals. Yeah. So that's where the Bengals are at. This matchup will not really probably mean all too much in terms of standings, unless the Bengals, if the Bengals win this game, it's a good statement piece for their competitiveness in the playoffs. It's tough to know what it means if they lose. We'll have to see how they would lose, but I think this means more in terms of quality of competition than it really does for standings, even though a loss with a Ravens win might end up meaning something due to tiebreakers, but whatever. The Bills beat the Patriots last week. Finally, my God. And that means that the Patriots ended up actually falling 4 spots in terms of playoff standings down to the 6th seed. We'll get there in a second. And the Bills are now on top of the AFC East due to tiebreakers at also 9-6. And this week they play the Falcons, which should be a win. However, the Bills have had a wildly inconsistent season. And so while we'd all like to chalk this up as seemingly a pretty easy win since the Falcons have not been good this year, their 7-8 record makes it look a lot better than this season has really been for them. The Bills have also been wild all over the place. So a win for this would not advance their position in terms of the division at all because they are currently on top of it. That's not going to change with a win. A win would give them a chance to maybe seed a little bit higher, but the chances of them getting into first and getting a bye week is basically impossible. With these last 2 weeks, they'd have to win both games. The Chiefs would have to lose, and everyone above them would have to lose both games. So no strong advantages to winning outside of holding position. Corwin, what do you think of the Bills' spot here and their matchup against the Falcons?
I just cannot take a team that lost to the Steelers seriously. Obviously, it being in week
Bengals
1.
lost to the Jets.
Well, the Chiefs just won the Super Bowl. How about that? All right. Well, I kind of got deflated by that a little bit. I don't know. I mean, they've been playing a hell of a lot better than they were week 1 of the season, which was going to be my point. But I don't know. I think the Falcons have some fight in them. I don't think they have a lot of fight in them, but I think they have some. Kyle Pitts chasing after that 1,000 receiving yards as a rookie tight end. But I don't expect. I mean, I think the Bills have a lot more to prove from this game with the Falcons than the Falcons do. So I think the Falcons are going to just kind of roll over and die.
Yeah, I feel like the Bills are still in the mode of playing for their life, which they kind of need to be. If they were leading this division with 14 wins, they could probably take their foot off the gas a little bit and have everyone play like 3 quarters just to make sure no one got hurt in some stupid 4th quarter nonsense. But that's not where they are. And this inconsistency is not only not good in terms of a standings position, it's also not great mentally heading into the playoffs. So I'm sure they want to keep their foot on the gas and have some momentum heading into the first round. But yeah, so a loss, we'll get to that with the Patriots. These 5th seed as of right now, our last division leader, no longer in the division leaders, now in the wild cards, is the Indianapolis Colts, who I believe just lost Carson Wentz.
Correct.
Yeah, I think he's on the COVID list. Unvaccinated starting quarterback Carson Wentz on COVID list. Yep, right there on the
That's
title.
what, 10 days? So at least 2 games?
Well, the NFLPA and the NFL are currently discussing going with the new CDC recommended 5 days, which is hot nonsense, but the NFLPA is probably going to agree to it because they want players on the field to be making not be missing out on stats that could impact their future salaries is what I'm assuming. Why they would be pushing for it. If it was me as a union rep, I'd probably be pushing to maintain the 10 days, but anyway, it doesn't matter. It from the news reports I've been seeing, it's like they'll agree to a 5-day quarantine period. So it would just be this 1 week that Wentz would be missing, is my guess. If assuming he is feeling okay enough in 5 days. But for this matchup's sake, he's out. 9-6, that puts him 1 game back on the Titans, and they're about to play the Raiders, who are in an interesting spot. The Raiders are currently 3rd in the AFC West. They're tied with the Chargers in record at 8-7. So they're a bubble team. They're not currently in the playoff picture. A win here for the Raiders would put them at 9-7, which, depending on how some of the matchups above them shake out, might be enough. Because in a world in which the Bengals and Bills and Patriots lose and the Raiders win, all of those teams would be 9-7. Where the Bengals, Bills, Colts, Patriots lose, all those teams would be 9-7. And so a win would be a ton for the Raiders. And once again, because of how tight everything is, the Colts, the win, it wouldn't move them up at all, but you're treading and you need to be treading water because the second you get tired, you will drown. It is tight. It is very, very tight. So even though the Colts really could they overtake the Titans? They could. They totally could. If the Titans lose this week and the Colts win this week, both teams would be 10-6. So it's certainly reasonable that a week 18 finale could be grand for the AFC South. Absolutely. But the Colts really need to win this game so that they don't completely miss the playoffs, because in a world in which the Bengals, Bills, Patriots, Dolphins, and Chargers and Raiders all win, the Colts would be 9-7, tied with 3 or more teams, because fuck, the Ravens are 8-7 too. There's a chance that if the Colts lose, they could be in a 4-way tie at 9-7. And I'm not sure of the tiebreakers, but the odds of them still being in the playoff picture seem pretty fucking slim at that point. So they need the win. Both teams need the win.
I think the Raiders win it for John Madden.
Yeah, you know what? Fuck it. Go Raiders. I don't need to be convinced anymore. Yeah, let's go Raiders. I'm rooting for a Raiders Super Bowl at this point. All right, that brings us to the Patriots, who, like we just said, lost to the Bills last week. So now they're down as a wild card team, second team in the AFC East. They are facing the Jaguars this week, which is, almost certainly a win based on how bad the Jaguar season has been. They just lost to the Jets, which is saying they lost to the Jets backup head coach. That is saying something. Shout out to Ron Washington, who called a great game, gotta say. Anyway, what do you make of this Patriots season that we have given up on at one point? Then they were leading the division for a while, and now they're a wild card team. How do you feel about this matchup and where they are?
Fuck the Patriots.
Yep.
Throw ball equal bad and lose. So I think run ball, lot, win, go to playoffs, throw ball, lose. Sold.
It will really be interesting to see how they come at Trevor Lawrence, rookie quarterback, with a lot of turnovers in a Belichick system that thrives on turnovers. So every team likes turnovers, but Belichick's always seemed to generate them en masse. So,
and James Robinson is out, so their best offensive weapon, gone.
Yeah. So solid chance the Patriots are walking away from this one with a win, which, if the Bills lose, means that the Patriots are back on top of the division after only 1 week in second place. If the Bills also win, then they would hold on to their second place status. But that also comes down to the Dolphins, who are the last playoff team here, which means that 3 out of 4 AFC East teams would be making the playoffs if the season ended today. Dolphins at 8-7, and they face the Titans. And we just talked about this matchup, but just to go over the standings of it a little bit, if the Patriots lose and the Dolphins win, I'm not sure of the tiebreakers, but it might. Oh, I'd love to know. It might end up knocking the Patriots out of the playoffs, depending on how those two teams have, I guess, performed against each other within the division. Because and that also assumes obviously other teams lower in the standings win too.
I would just love if the Patriots missed the playoffs so much. And
it's crazy because there's a real possibility that ends up happening. Because of just because of how tight it is. If the Patriots end up winning this week and all the teams on the bubble end up winning their weeks as well, since none of them are playing each other really, then even with the Patriots win, it would still come down to there'd still be a chance come week 18, the final week of the NFL regular season, that the Patriots could get eliminated because they haven't put any real distance between them and the literally 6 teams that could reasonably displace them below them. So it's a really interesting spot for them to be in. These next 2 games for them matter a ton. Even though they already have 9 and are very likely going to have 10 wins, it's coming down to the wire. Who's their last week against? They have the Jaguars and then the Dolphins. Oh, shit. Man. That could end up being a really cool game or a really lame game, depending on how this goes. Because if the Dolphins lose and the Pats win, then the Dolphins' chances of making the playoffs are almost certainly dead. And the Patriots will probably be in a pretty good spot. Oh, we'll see. Not going to get too ahead of myself. All right. So the Chargers are out of a playoff spot. They were in a playoff spot last week. They lost, however. Who did they lose to? Or are you fucking Chargers? They lost to the Texans. That's right. Oh, they had a layup matchup and they lost 41-29. What a humiliation. I completely forgot about that. And so now they're out of a playoff spot and they have to play the Broncos, the divisional opponent. And the Broncos don't have a lot to be fighting for because even though they're technically on the bubble, they're probably not making the show. And, but hey, you know who loves to play spoiler? Your divisional opponents.
Oh boy, I just don't. This is one of those games where it's like I don't see really anything happening from these teams. So,
the last spot in
I kind of want the Chargers to win though.
I would too. The last spot is the 8-7 spot. So theoretically, if there is room for the Chargers to move up instantaneously this week, it's not like it would take a lot. Even in a world in which the Dolphins won, there's still four teams with a 9-6 record, which means if all of them lost and the Chargers won, all of those teams would have there's a possibility for a 6-way tie at 9-7 is what I'm driving at here. Actually, it'd be a 7-way tie at 9-7 because the Raiders would have to beat up the Colts, and so there's absolutely room for the Chargers to do it. It's been tough because they've had a wacky ass season. As a lot of teams in the AFC have, it feels like it's been a very stilted season for the entire conference. But man, I have no idea what these Chargers are. They've got a very nice offense going, but they have like seemingly nothing else. And isn't that the Chargers?
Yeah, I mean, of all the teams that are currently on the outside looking in, I'd want the Chargers to go the most by far. One, because of powder blue uniforms are just the nicest things to look at on television. And I really want to see what Justin Herbert can do. I just want to see what happens when it inevitably falls to his shoulders and he's got to put the team on his back. I want that. Real bad.
Yeah, I like the Chargers. They're an easy team to root for. That brings us to the 9th place team right now, the Raiders. We talked about this matchup with the Colts. They are one of the 3 teams that are on the bubble, which means they're not currently in the playoff spot, that are at 8-7. So talk about this matchup already. The Ravens, 2nd place in the NFC North, 10th seed right now, going up against the Rams, which, I don't think they got a shot.
They're just too hurt, man.
They're so banged up.
It's just like unreal how little they have left.
They've still got over a dozen players on the IR, on the COVID list /IR.
I think this season, if the Ravens were healthy, they'd be up there with the Chiefs, and maybe not up there with the Chiefs, but maybe more Titans, Bengals level. Regardless, they'd be a much better team. But without half their star power, I just don't think it's possible for them to kind of overcome this. And even if they do cause any damage.
Yeah, it's unlikely. If they should win, again, they would join the bevy of potential 9-7 records where the tiebreakers system would be, you'd go a lot farther down the tiebreaker ladder than I'm sure most of us are used to going. So it's almost impossible to say without knowing the ins and outs of everyone's season whether it would be, but it'll put them in a pretty good spot. A loss here would be colossal. A loss here would put them at 8-8 and basically knock them out of the playoff hunt with 1 week to go after that. Which is why it's really not even worth talking about the teams below the Ravens, which is the Steelers, Browns, and Broncos, because their odds of making the playoffs are so incredibly slim that it's really not even worth the air. So let's just move over to the NFC, where a lot more has happened in the NFC this week or last week than happened in the AFC. Last week we talked about the NFC.
Gone to the NFC yet. Holy shit!
I know, right? And we can move through this a lot quicker because a lot more has been decided in the NFC. Last week when we talked, only the Packers had clinched the playoff spot, and this week, playoff spots clinched are 5 of the 7 available playoff slots. So the Packers are the number 1 seed, as they have been. 1 game advantage over the Cowboys. So that first overall seed is being fought for, but currently held. Cowboys second seed. Also the Rams and Bucks all have the same record. I should point out that as well. So the Packers hanging on by a thread to the 1 seed, really, with 2 weeks to go. So then it's the Cowboys at 11-4, the Rams number 3 at 11-4, the Bucks at 4, 11-4, and the only wild card team that has clinched a playoff spot is the Arizona Cardinals, who are currently the 5th seed at 10-5, which means there are only 2 teams in the hunt, which means that they're good enough. If the playoffs or the season ended today, they'd make the playoffs. That is the 49ers at 8-7, and they are about to play the Texans, which theoretically should be a layup win. However, the Niners may as well be an AFC team because they have played wildly inconsistent this year. A lot of that has been Jimmy Garoppolo, who has had some rough games with the team this year. But really, that team is also quite hurt, and that division is very fucking good. So they've had a really rough go of it kind of the whole way around this year. So, but the Texans should be a layup win. I don't know. What do you think about the Niners here?
Keep saying that about the Texans, but they somehow managed their way to 4 wins.
They have 4 wins? Oh my God.
Yeah, dude. Exactly.
Holy shit. The Jags have 2. Man.
Did the Jets have 4?
4? Wow. Anyway, sorry, you were saying?
I don't remember. Oh, 49ers. Yeah. Jimmy G is just an enigma I saw something about how he is at any given time either the most underrated or most overrated quarterback. And I think that's perfect. He has all of the ability and just is so inconsistent and makes so many terrible decisions that he can win you and lose you games seemingly at random whenever he so chooses. I'd love to see Trey Lance get some shots in here to see if he can close out the season. I mean, they're not falling out of the playoffs. I really don't think any of the other NFC teams have any sort of hope to kind of break through. I know it's only 1 game difference for the Eagles, but talent-wise, I just don't think any of the other teams are really all that close. So got Trey Lance in there, see what he can do. I mean, he's your future. Jimmy G is absolutely not.
I agree. I think they're probably in a tough spot from a coaching standpoint, which is we have 2 games left. Do you change your starter, especially when you're desperately trying to hang on to your playoff spot? Because as of right now, the both the Niners and Eagles are at 8-7, and behind them are 3 teams at 7-8. The Vikings, Falcons, and Saints. And while I do not respect the Vikings or Falcons, or really the Saints that much this season either, a loss from the Niners this week and a win from any one of the 3 of those teams makes there a tie at 8-8. And that would put a lot of pressure on the final game of the season for the Niners. And they are playing, let's see, who? Oh, yeah, the Rams. And if anything, if you had to go 1-1 in these next 2 games, you'd probably want to start off with the win so that you could brace for a loss instead of losing against the Texans and then needing to beat the Rams, who, even though their future will be certain, will do you absolutely no fucking favors whatsoever.
Rivalry game 2. They're about to just give that up.
Nope. No team necessarily gives up on any games, but there's a difference between not playing your most competitive game and putting your foot down your opponent's throat. There's levels. So this is really a must-win game for the Niners to hang on to their postseason hopes, which are currently alive. If the season ended today, they'd be in, but oh boy. And then that brings us to the Eagles, who have a divisional matchup this week against the Washington football team, where if the Eagles lost, they would join a potential bevy of teams at 8-8. And if the Washington football team won, who are not eliminated yet, they'd be at 7-9 and technically not eliminated. But boy, who gives a fuck about that? So this is really a must-win game for the Eagles for much the same reason as it is for the Niners, but the stakes feel a lot lower because I think it's a surprise the Eagles are here more so than that. Like it feels like the Niners should be in a playoff spot based on the amount of talent they have on their roster and where they've been in the past couple seasons. The Eagles, not so much. So I feel like if the Eagles don't make the playoffs, it's like we got close.
They just won a Super Bowl.
The Eagles?
Yeah, a couple years ago.
Must have been more than a couple. That must be like 3-4 years ago now.
I think no more than 3. It was like exactly 3 years ago.
Shit up.
2019.
Hold on, folks. Looking it up. Corwin says 2019. I say 2017.
How ridiculously long 6 years is, or 3 years is.
2018.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's been, that was 4 Super Bowls ago. Which is a lifetime in the NFL.
Correct.
So I don't really give a shit about this one. The 7th seed in the NFC has felt like a default position for the past few years now because talent has dropped off so precipitously. So I don't really give a fuck who lands here. It's probably going to be someone we don't care about because if it's not going to be
Agreed.
the Eagles, then the likelihood that it is one of the Vikings, Falcons, or Saints is pretty high. And boy, I just don't give a fuck about any of those teams or their chances in the playoffs. So it's not interesting to me.
Yeah, I mean, there's really nobody else that is a threat. I mean, I know people say like oh, any given Sunday, and for the regular season, yes, absolutely, and even in the playoffs, yes, there are absolutely exceptions to the best team winning. But when was the last time in the NFL a team actually went all the way after being a dog shit team? It's not like they're Vikings are like an okay team and the Falcons are a pretty good team. Like, yeah, both these teams won 7 games, but they are bad teams compared to any of the top dogs in the NFC. Like, I don't know. I'm being pessimistic, and I know I say the opposite often, but I'm the Grinch this year. I'm just being Grinchy.
Yeah, I don't give a fuck. I guess if you're rooting for NFC chaos, you'd be rooting for the Texans and Washington to win. Or actually, I'll do the other way around. You'd be rooting for the Niners and Eagles to lose, and you'd be rooting for Vikings, Falcons, Saints to win. So there'd be a 5-way tie at 8-8 heading into week 18, the final week. But the likelihood of that happening is pretty low. The on the bubble teams, the Vikings at 7-8 have to play the Packers. Good luck. The Falcons are playing the Bills. Good luck. The Saints are playing the Panthers. They could reasonably win that game. That actually might be a game that they should win. But who's to say? And then again, Washington's irrelevant. They will lose out on a playoff spot just over the course of time. Even if they win out, they're not going to make a playoff spot in all likelihood, I should say. So yeah, really the odds of this playoff picture changing that much is pretty slim. It could, but the AFC is definitely where to do your standings watching if you're interested in maximum quantities of chaos. So that's where we're at. Next week's update will be the last update of the regular season, and then we'll talk about actual playoff teams because after next week we'll have an actual locked in playoff picture, and I'm looking forward to the NFL playoffs. I haven't watched a ton of other NFL this year. I haven't watched a lot of non-Jets football this year because I've been trying to use my Sundays for things this year instead of just doing football. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but yeah, I mean, you know what's up. So it'll be nice to really spend like 4 straight weekends doing nothing but football. And none of them will have to be the Jets. I can actually enjoy football for a few weeks. None of them will be the Jets. I can savor another team's crushing disappointment instead of having it be my own.
I want to care more than I do. I want to get into the playoffs this year and watch, a good chunk of games, do like what you were saying, just do nothing but sit and watch football. But we'll see.
I think the excitement will hit you after week 18 is over. I do. I think that.
That's fair. Yeah.
All right. The only other,
a lot of it, like you said, is just like being free to do stuff, like watch football.
Yeah, it's much easier to spend your entire day watching football when you're like in college and have no other responsibilities and don't need to savor your free time as much. When you're an adult with a job, you have so little free time that you really, really want to use it. So anyway, the only other bit of news we have, I guess, we don't have to spend a lot of time on it. I'm not sure there's a lot of time to be spent on it, is that today Kyle Seager announced his retirement, which is kind of unexpected. If I'm being honest, he's only 33, and it seemed as though pretty strongly that he was not going to get his contract renewed by the Mariners. The Mariners seem to have made that clear. They ended up doing exactly that. They did not renew his contract or extend him to an extension, and he became a free agent. And instead of going through the trials and tribulations of free agency, he elected to just hang it up, which good for him. It's, as we've said many times on this podcast, it's very rare a player gets to kind of decide that on their own and have it be on their own terms. So congrats to him, but it is wild to see him actually leave MLB. It feels like he's been the face of the Mariners for like most of my conscious baseball watching, even more than Felix, because of when I really started watching more baseball. I feel like Kyle Seager was that guy for me, for the M's.
I feel like it's maybe it's just, again, me being pessimistic. Holy shit. I feel like, the talent level on the field has kind of not disintegrated. That's kind of over exaggerated, but like it's dropped enough to where he's been, at least I think he's healthy now. Hasn't really been too healthy lately. The play hasn't been there in the fields. 33 is young, but it's not exactly, a spring chicken. Being able to call it up on your own and go into retirement at age 33, which is old for an athlete, but so fucking young for like people. It might be nice. It might be nice to just have that control. And I know, pro athletes think of it very differently than the rest of us, but I don't know. I can't see it being a truly terrible thing. Disappointing, sure. A huge part of your life is, ending, but you're 33 and retiring with your family, with all the time you get, all the yada yada yada. You know what I mean?
Yes, I understand all the yada yada yadas. Older or younger than Kyle Seager? Marcus Semien. Younger. He's 30. Just finished his age 30 season. Older, younger than Kyle Seager. Whit Merrifield.
I think it's close, but I want to say he's like 32.
He is 32. That's a weirdly good guess. So he is, yes, he is younger. This is an interesting one. Jonathan Scope.
I feel like he is perpetually the guy that feels like he's 40 years old, but is actually like 29. So I'll go younger.
Are you looking these up? He is 29.
No. Yes.
Dude, well, this is getting fucking weird. I'm made very uncomfortable by
That's a man who I thought was pronounced Shoop up until last year, and now I know exactly how old he is. Right.
Yeah.
I even have both hands in frame. It's great.
Jose Abreu, older or younger than Kyle Seager?
Younger, but seems like he should be, again, like he's the guy who came into the league super old, so he seems super young, but I still think he's younger than
He is older. He just finished his age 34 season.
Wow.
Yeah.
God, he is so like it is.
He debuted at 27.
The league.
I know.
Yeah, that's insane.
All right, this one I think will be easy, but I want you to then guess. I'll ask a follow-up question. Josh Donaldson, older or younger?
I mean, he's got to be older at this point, right?
So he is. How much? What age seasons did he just finish?
36?
35. So he's
Okay.
only 2 years older than Kyle Seager. And man, it feels like he is so much older than Kyle Seager.
And probably has less games.
Oh, that's actually interesting. So Josh Donaldson, 1,200 games, pretty much on the money. Kyle Seager, 1,480 games. Yeah, you're right. By a lot.
Like, I get Kyle Seager is hurt a lot, but Josh Donaldson is hurt a lot.
Oh, yeah. Every other season, it feels like he has a season-ending injury.
Yeah. Like, Kyle Seager always seems to be, like, hurt, but Josh Donaldson is almost always, like, broken.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Like, manufacturer needs to repair this one. All right. Last one. Another interesting one. Older or younger? Giancarlo Stanton.
Younger, but I don't think I could guess how old that man is.
Right? That's the thing. Like, in my mind, Giancarlo Stanton's like a really, really cool, hip 37. But I know he's not 37. Like, that's too
is he
old.
even 30?
He's 31.
Okay.
But for some reason, his face looks so like
He looks
refined.
So young. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he looks like a young looking older dude, and he is barely older than me. He is 4 years older than me, and he looks a decade older than me for some reason in my mind.
Do you think he goes from like feeling like he's or like looking like he's, you know, a crisp 27 to if he started going by Mike again, do you think he would immediately look 47, just completely flip sides? And just be like, oh, Mike Stanton is like,
I think
old.
There's a thing that happens when you're very lean and very fit. And it's that like, there's not any fat in your face to like absorb your lines when you talk and smile. So he ends up having like a lot of, and this happens not just to him, a bunch of very harsh lines when he talks. And I immediately associate that with age. And so in my mind, he's like a father of 3, but he's still really cool, you know, like his kids aren't embarrassed when he picks them up from school and they're like 8, you know, and instead he is 31. Like, he is not old at all. He is not a young looking old dude. He's just a young guy. And I just can't get there like in my head. Like, you know, it feels like he's a lot older than Judge too. And Judge is not that much younger than him. But I feel like in my head, Aaron Judge is like 6 years younger than him when Judge just finished his age 29 season.
I'm terrified of growing out of the age where I'm still considered young for a professional athlete. Like 24 years old, I'm still approaching the prime of my career if I was a professional athlete. Once I hit like 28, 27, 28, where I'm just like, oh yeah, now he's on the decline. Mentally, I think that's going to really get to me. Even though I have no athletic bone in my body.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh, I think about it.
Professional athletes get worse and I've still done nothing.
Dude, I've been thinking about it so much this year, especially because I am 27 and Carlos Correa has hit free agency this year at 27. And everyone's talking about how he's in the prime of his life and the prime of his career. And I keep looking around like, I should be better. Obviously, I should not be a platinum glove shortstop, but maybe walking up the stairs shouldn't be so fucking hard. like I should improve me, because if this is the prime of his career and he's about to make like $500 million in free agency. Maybe I should be doing a little bit better.
I had to lay on the floor for like an hour last night because I just like could not even sit up. My back was hurting so bad. And this man is about to sign like a $300 million contract because he's just so athletic.
And the age difference, not really.
And he's 3 years older than me.
Yeah. It's so tough to think about athletes as real people because sometimes I just don't want to. Sometimes it makes me sad.
I like it better when they're just fictional superheroes living in make-believe land.
Yeah. We should require all athletes wear capes in their free time so that I don't feel bad about myself.
What athlete would look the craziest?
The craziest?
Like with Bartolo Colon coming back to professional sports,
no,
be worth it.
I was going to say, would he look crazy? No, he would not look crazy. He'd look like Captain Underpants with hair. The craziest, it has to be like Jose Altuve or something like that. Like, is that kid running into a burning building? Oh, no, it's a grown man.
Oh man, I'm just trying to think of like the funkiest looking pro athletes of like any sport. Like,
what would be funny
Alex
is
Ovechkin wearing a cape would be hilarious.
What would be funny is Derrick Henry wearing a cape, but a comically small cape. Like Derrick Henry in a cape, yeah, that makes sense. He's a very large man. Derrick Henry in a very, very small cape. That's funny. Just a bib on backwards. But yeah. So anyway, let's get back to Kyle Seager just real quick. We said it wouldn't take long to talk about him, and here we are down the rabbit hole as per usual. So his 11 seasons, all of which with the Mariners are locked in. That is it. He retires with just under 37 career WAR. His career slash line is 321, 442, 763. That is an OPS plus of 112. His high watermark in his career was his 2016 campaign, in which he had an OPS plus of 133 and finished 12th in MVP voting. His accolades for his career is he was a one-time All-Star and a one-time Gold Glove winner. And I mean, that's kind of it. He played a pretty reliable third base. He finishes his career with 7.6 DWAR and was really one of the only bright spots on a Mariners team that it was at the decline of the Felix Hernandez era and was prior to this point in time where they're very young and starting to really improve and making some very shrewd trades and moves. And, those types of guys are often very memorable because they are one of the few things you get to root for. That's one of the reasons that, in addition to Don Mattingly being a borderline Hall of Famer and probably should be a Hall of Famer, that's one of the reasons Don Mattingly is looked upon with such fondness by Yankees fans. He was one of the very few bright spots on the bookends of a franchise when they didn't win World Series. They won World Series right before he got to the Yankees and right after he retired. But they I don't think they even might have made the playoffs like once or twice during his tenure, and that was it. And he played for a long while, and that's really Kyle Seager. Those guys that give you a reason to keep turning on your television set and finding the game and sitting through a 162 game season because you get to watch them. And even when everything else is bad, those are special guys. And Kyle Seager will be a special guy in the hearts of Seattle fans for that exact reason. And he deserves it.
Kyle Seager's Mike Trout confirmed. When was the last time both Seager brothers were unemployed at the same time?
Age 9. That's got to be when you start like travel baseball, right? 9.
Yeah, but you don't get paid as like a 10-year-old.
I mean, you don't get paid to be an NCAA athlete, but let's say that's still employment. I mean,
yes, you do.
You do.
Both now and before. You did.
I know, but it's not going on the forms to the IRS. So.
Oh, God. I am upset that we are past the point where it was possible for a football player in like college football to fuck up so badly by putting those kind of bribes on their their tax return. God, that would have been so fucking great.
Say la vie. But yeah, man. it almost I so wish he got the chance to play somewhere else just to get himself the ability to play. I like Kyle Seager as a player. Those
cool
like forever 3-war guys that are never worth more than that, but never worth less than that are such fun ball players for me. For everybody, I think who really likes the sport. It's sad to see him kind of go. It's also sad to think that he's retiring at 33. That's not very far away from my age. 6 years older than me. He is retired. I am going to be working for another 40 years. Fuck you, Kyle.
As much as I hate the Dodgers, it would have been cool to see him go there and play next to Corey.
Well, Corey will be in Texas, so the Rangers.
Right, but like at some point in his career going to the Dodgers.
Imagine the Dodgers were like, fuck, we need a Seager. Get Kyle on the phone. What would be crazy is if the Dodgers
mistake, not a Dodgers.
If the Dodgers did to Kyle Seager what they did to Justin Turner, which is like, yeah, Justin Turner was a good third baseman with the Mets, but like whatever, they let him walk. And then all of a sudden Justin Turner on the Dodgers is like, I will fuck your mom and she will never stop calling me. And it'd be great if Kyle Seager was like, yeah, I was a good player with the Mariners. And then he gets to Los Angeles and he's like, I'm going to fuck your dad too. And
I will fuck your mom. Kyle, we have the same mom. Please stop. Why are you saying that?
Kyle, no. I'm going to beat your dad and your brother.
You are my brother.
I'm going to call me Papa Brother. Yeah.
That is the worst TLC show in existence.
Brother dads. Sister wives and brother dads.
Oh, I hate it.
Yeah, everyone to stop this now. So shout out to Kyle Seager. He's retired. Which is sad. I hope he does more things. It'd be cool to see him do more things. He's a sense of humor. I appreciate it. Shout outs to John Madden. He's taken the extra long retirement. Where, you know, more dirt in his retirement. A lot more gravel. Yeah. He's getting buried. Maybe he's getting cremated. I don't know. Maybe they spread his ashes at
I hope his urn is shaped like a football.
His urn is shaped like a PlayStation 5. Every time they release a new PlayStation, they make a new urn. And they just keep pouring his ashes into the newest model.
I want to be able to play Madden next year and have his urn on the sideline coaching the game. Just
okay.
Let it sit there. Like they always cut to the coach on the sideline during the game. I want them to just cut to an urn sitting in the grass with a play sheet and a whistle next to it. That's it.
I'm with it. I can see it now.
Games need to do more batshit crazy shit like that.
And the urn is furious.
And a strong gust of wind knocks the urn over. He dropped the challenge flag. They're challenging the play.
All right. Well, that's all we got. There's not a lot else going on. So we'll update you guys about NFL shit when there's updates to give. Otherwise, we will see you guys in the new year.
Maybe.
This next episode will be out on fucking Monday the 3rd. Yeah. All right. So we'll be back in the new year. If you want to follow the show on Twitter, you can do so at JuicingPod. If you'd like to send emails to the show, you can do so at juicethenumbers@gmail.com. If you'd like to just follow Corwin on Twitter, you can do so at Corwin Hell. If you'd like to follow myself on Twitter, you can do so at Joshua D. Tracy until 2022. I was about to say 23 and just skip the whole fucking year.
Please.
Y'all have a good one.